The greatest last stands in history. One of the greatest last stands in history is the Battle of Thermopylae, where 7,000 Spartan warriors fought against 120,000 to 300,000 Persian troops. Many troops in the Persian army underestimated the Spartan warriors. Spartans used the terrain to their advantage, making the battle much more of a bloodbath than the Persians expected. Even though the Spartans lost the battle, it's one of the most influential battles in history. The Battle of Thermopylae gave time for the Greek city-states to regroup and eventually kick the Persians out of mighty Greek city-states. And eventually Alexander the Great defeated Persia. This video is the top 5 greatest last stands. The second greatest last stand in history is the Battle of Rorke's Drift, where around 7,000 to 20,000 Zulu warriors fought against the British at Rorke's Drift at a medical outpost where the British barely had 150 soldiers. The Zulu, just a few days earlier, had absolutely destroyed the British, killing many of their men. The Anglo-Zulu War was short but bloody. This was the major turning point in the war. At this battle, the British were able to hold off the Zulu for many hours before finally retreating. They were able to help many of the injured troops that were there. Eventually, the British retreated. Even though the Zulu were able to take the outpost, it took many hours, and many of the troops were killed. It was the first British victory of the war. That is the second greatest last stand in history. The Battle of Macedonia, I'm not sure if I did that correct, was a battle between the Roman army and the Israelis. 800 Jewish troops versus 7,000 Roman soldiers. The ingenuity of the Jewish troops was able to hold the base for months. Eventually, the Romans were able to overpower them. But this showed resolve and inspired many Jewish resistant movements, including the Bar Kokhba revolt, and which ended horribly, and Romans basically committed a mass genocide on the Jews by moving basically 500,000 Jews out of Israel. But in the end, they lost. The troops, even though it is against Jewish law to commit mass suicide, did that. It was one of the greatest, that was the third greatest last stand in history. The Siege of the Alamo, where 200 Texan defenders fought against the Mexican army and around 3,000 soldiers. During the Siege of the Alamo, the Texan defenders were able to hold the city for 12 days, enough time for their military to enough for the military of Texas, led by Sam Houston, to gain supplies and fight off the Mexican army. The Mexican army was unusually cruel to the Texan soldiers. I think killing 3,000 and slaughtering everyone who lived in the city. This, remember the Alamo, became the battling cry of the Texan Revolution, eventually causing Texas to defeat Mexico eventually and declaring de facto independence from the Mexican government. Okay, the final top 5 last stand is the last stand at I'm sorry, it's an Indian battle in India against Afghanistan and like Sikh warriors. I mean, I can't pronounce it, so I don't want to butcher the pronunciation. If I do, I'm really sorry because I do not like to butcher pronunciation. I think it's like 21 Sikh warriors, the Siege of Sirgat, where 21 Sikh warriors against 10,000 Afghan soldiers fought. The 21 Sikh warriors fought bravely. In the end, all 21 soldiers were killed. It was a battle that showed Sikh resistance against the Afghan military, with the British trying to help the Sikh soldiers defeat them. After many days, all 21 Sikh were killed. That is the 5th greatest siege in history. 5th greatest last stand in history. These were the greatest last stands in history. Before we end the video, I'd like to say rest in peace to all the families, to the 3 service members that were killed by the evil Iranian regime. Let me tell you something. We must defeat this evil Iranian regime who killed 3 U.S. service members. My thoughts and prayers go out to their family. And this is the end of the video.